Okay, so I'm a little bit late to start streaming because I was recording a video. If my controller would work, really turn the stream off great. Um, Hello? Come on, really? Of all the things to not work, it had to be my controller. Please? Hold on. I think it's the cable being weird. Yeah, it looks like it's telling me that it's just not plugged in. Um, There we go. Okay. Hello, Anthony. Goodbye, Anthony. Thank you for the $2. I really appreciate it. Hello, Afna. Good morning, Bryn. Hello, Deuterium. Uh, I think we are... Oh, spoilers for future runs. This one. I think we are going to plow through this run with probably a lot of innuendos, all things considered. What are the gardener thingies called? They're like gardener scarecrow. I think they're scarecrows. Scarecrow 2.0. Hello, Krista. So much probg. So much prong. Okay, it's 1514? No, it's 1512, I think. And then it has good dex scaling. I don't know, Hunter, I guess, why not? And then, actually, yeah, no, Hunter's fine. I don't normally make the character, like, on stream, like, but I barely was able to actually, start streaming somewhat on time today because I was recording a video right up to when I actually needed to start getting ready to stream, and I just was not ready at all. Oh my god, Deuterium, thank you so much. That means a lot. I I know you've said you were gonna donate before, but I don't know, it still feels weird. Thank you very much. Yeah, yay, innuendos. So the start of the stream is gonna be weird because we're not actually gonna get our weapon until after we beat Ornstein and Smo. So I don't know. I can pray that I get a Black Knight weapon. I don't really know what to go for. What's a good weapon that's like Twinkling Titanite? That is the game too loud? Why is the game so loud? I just realized that. I'm sorry. I was using the wrong audio source actually. There you go. Okay. Half of your bank account. I mean, but you still need money. Money is still good to have at least a little bit of. Anyway, yeah, I'm not really sure what weapon I'm gonna use to get Soren's against Smo, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. I would prefer a not normal Titanite weapon just because the plow uses normal Titanite, so anything I can do to save as much Titanite as possible is preferable, but either way. Okay. Yeah, again, I guess just hoping for a Black Knight weapon or something. Preferably the sword. Actually, the sword is 2018, right? I don't know if I should go for those stats, because it doesn't have good strength scaling. The Channeler's Trident, that's a good point. What do you mean non-matching weapons in each hand? Just like a random weapon in either hand? I feel like the problem with that is that left-handed movesets just aren't really useful 99% of the time. I don't know, if there's like an interesting way to do that, then I'd be down, but I just don't know how to make that more interesting than just a normal single weapon run, you know? Because I feel like the vast majority of the time I would just be two-handing the right-handed weapon, right? I don't know, something like offhanding the, I don't know, Gargoyle's Tail Axe could be interesting just because of the bleed resistance it gives you or something. Well, yeah, but the parrying dagger is just the parrying dagger. You just parry with it, you know? It's like a worse shield. And I did use the parrying dagger on my offhand in the lot track run, so... I don't know, that could be interesting in... I don't know, even then, I was going to say in Remasters, but even then I don't think that would be super great. Yeah, but tracers are intended to be two-handed, right? Or to have one in either hand, and one of them even has a completely different moveset if it's in your offhand. So I don't think that really counts. Okay, first and foremost, I'm going to go get the chunks from the Black Knights, since I'm going to need the chunks anyway. I was thinking Ghost Dagger, but that's a pretty rare drop. And without starting as Pyromancer, that's pretty difficult to get. So, I don't know. Oh, pardon me. Krista! Oh my god. Jesus. That's so much money. You've given me like $70 this week. That's too much. Krista, thank you again a lot, but you need this money too. Fork knife. What would be the, I guess, any sword really? The butcher's knife with the pitchfork. But again, that 200, that more than 200 doesn't have to come from you. Jeez. I don't know. I think this is going to be pretty unique because this is the first time... Actually, no, I did do the tracers. I was going to say this is the first time I've done a DLC weapon, but that's not true at all. But that was also with the Twinkling Titanite weapon, and this time I just genuinely do not want to use a non-twinkling weapon to get through Incidents Mo. I think I used the Black Knight sword in that stream, though. I don't remember. Oh my god. Thank you, Lilith, for the money. Any amount of money I feel like I don't deserve, but I appreciate it greatly, genuinely. Oh yeah, the machete. That's also very knifey. I want to do a stream entirely dedicated to the machete, though. Oh my goodness. If I die to... Okay. R2, when you have a bow two-handed, will switch your arrow type if you have more than one weapon, or more than one arrow type equipped, rather. As opposed to Dark Souls 2, where you can press R2 to fire a different arrow type. Cheese and milk convo part 2. I don't know. I think we covered all our bases in the last stream. The point of the streams is to like, and like I know I could. Oh hey, a trunk, nice. I know I could still like do the full run with it and everything, but the point of the runs is to like showcase a weapon, especially one that I wouldn't necessarily use otherwise. Like I've never used the Demon's Machete, which is why I want to do a stream with it, you know. Ow. And I don't think a combo run would be interesting again, so... Swaps Hestus for Nuka-Cola. Barrels would blow up? What do you mean? I mean, there are explosive barrels in Demon Souls, but most barrels aren't explosive. Is there a spoon weapon? There is in Remastest. I could open Remastest real quick. Get the spoon from the cell in the beginning of the game. Oh, pardon me. I'm still not used to fighting the Taurus demon. Not hard if you just are careful about it, but being careful fighting the Taurus demon is boring. Oop. See, exactly my point. Can I say Among Us? There you go. I do actually, like, unironically wanted to remaster Spoon Only. I started that, but it does so little damage. You can upgrade it. I just didn't get to the point where I could upgrade it yet. But then I found the stick, and I thought that would be funnier, and it is much, much better than the spoon. So I started doing that instead because it seemed more fun. And I have not finished that run either. Owie. I mean, I could just hack in the weapon if I wanted to. I just think that getting the weapon in the first place is an interesting part of the run. Like, routing to the weapon is one of my favorite parts of playing through the game with any specific weapon. So, it's not that I can't get it right now, it's that I don't want to, you know? Yeah, I think stick only will be fun. I've gotten to Ornstein and Smo, I think. The thing is, the damage isn't bad, but I keep dying, and I'm not sure why. Especially with, like, RTSR. The damage is really good. I think it kills Ornstein in, like, 6 hits or something. Only having a delicious meal. I'll grab the fork and then change the script once I get to the DLC. What is Sen's fog skip? You just mean Sen skip? Okay, yeah, I just wanted to get the Black Knight, and then... I don't know. Oh, do you mean the Duke's Archive? Yeah. I mean, even then, I would still need to fight the Hydra, which is arguably harder than Ornstein and Smo. So either way, I want to get a weapon that would be capable of dealing with Ornstein and Smo. I don't know. If all else fails, I could just Claymore or come back for the Drake Sword. I don't know. We'll see. I definitely don't want to use the Greatsword. I don't know. I don't know what weapon to use. Kind of just got unlucky with the drops that I wanted, but... What the... I didn't know the fire could hit you in here. That is a very new experience. Yeah, but I don't think having the pitchfork is gonna, like, for one boss, is gonna dramatically change the run, you know? Because I am gonna do Sen skip, so I'm still gonna do most of the bosses with the fork. Pardon me. And, like, if anything, I would just waste a ton of time trying to learn a new trick that I don't even want to do in the first place. So, and again, I don't know. The routing is more interesting this way, I think. It's not that hard if you are like... I am shocked that parried. That was terrifying. Yeah, the Duke's fog skip isn't that hard if you're able to control death cam kind of well. Though the timing is pretty tight, I guess. I don't know. I guess I haven't tried it, so I can't say much. But how it looks doesn't seem that difficult. I'd also have to get the lingering Dragon Crest ring and everything, and fall control, and get the right amount of gear to get me into meme roll range. So I just really don't think that's worth it. I do need to figure out what weapon to use. I guess I could soul dupe and use the Claymore. That's probably the most viable option at this point. Owie. I don't need that. I don't know why I grabbed that. I assure you, Ornstein and Smo is not at all a good boss for a representation of a power of a weapon. um, I think Four Kings is that much, much, much more so. Um, on top of just like the entire rest of the game, Manus, for instance. Yeah, I think soul duping and getting Claymore to usable levels is a good idea. But I'm just gonna go grab the large ember. That's not a big deal, I guess. I am actually, yeah, I'm gonna buy the Titanite shards now, so that I don't have to lose souls while getting out of the depths. Okay, purchase, and then I'm pretty sure I have the stats for it. Yeah, okay, cool. I've been wanting to make a Souls-like for a very long time. I have a lot of ideas. Um, I would want to make it based on like Jewish mythology primarily, not like entirely beholden to it, but just like its basic ideas from that, because I find that mythology extremely interesting, especially after having been a Christian for so long, and like seeing that mythology from the outside, I think is fascinating. Um, but I don't know. I'm just not good at level design or boss design for that matter. Like I have ideas for bosses and what their attacks would be. I think an Ophanim boss where you have to navigate your way through the wheels, like spinning around without getting hit by them to deal damage would be really interesting. Or uh, like you could have a cherubim, not cherubim, yeah, cherubim, as like the guardian of Eden that you need to get through to get into the garden. Um, You could obviously have Cain and Abel as a really interesting duo of bosses or whatever. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of really, oops, wrong way, really interesting ideas there that you can get a lot of mileage out of. I just don't know how to execute on that. If anyone is good at level design and boss design, hit me up. Yeah, my name is Ruby. Do I not have that on my YouTube bio? I mean, it's in my second channel, I guess. Yeah. As someone who is decent at programming and terrible at level design, I can, like, feasibly program a Souls-like engine pretty easily. From there, though, my skills fall apart. I don't know. I can do music. I don't know if I'd be able to do sweeping orchestral pieces, but every time I try to make music, it just turns into orchestral synthwave. And, like, I'm not complaining. It sounds good most of the time. It's just really weird that I try to make a pure orchestral piece and it just becomes orchestral synthwave. It's really fun, though. Oops. Damn it. This isn't hard. I know what I'm doing. I've done this trick so many times. I should find like a consistent way to line this up because this is always what I struggle on with this skip. I do know a game designer, that's true. Oops. Oh no. The only problem is that game designer is preoccupied with their own projects, so I don't know. I'm also kind of at the point why can't I do this? This isn't hard. I'm kind of at the point where I want to be able to make a game on my own so that I can take the whole project and make it exactly to my vision, but I'm not going to be able to do that anyway, so I don't know why I'm so stubborn in that mentality. Um, Jesus, I don't know. I think the thing about game design is you need to like, especially if you're a small team or whatever, you really need to. Why can't I do this? You need to play to your strengths, right? So like in my mind, any game that I would make would have a more abstract, a low poly art style, with atmospheric music more than anything, um, and that kind of thing, where it's not really like realism. I could not do realism, right? I'm better at like 3D movement programming than 2D. I find 2D movement to be extremely weird to wrap my head around for whatever reason, even though it seems like it would be less complicated than 3D. I don't know. So like it comes down to playing to your strengths and doing what you can rather than trying to make your ability conform to your vision. You have to shape your vision around your ability. Um, and like to a point, you can get better at doing things, but like personally, I just am bad at certain aspects of game design, and that's fine. I can still, make something I'm proud of without delving into those aspects, even if I would like to use certain aspects in certain ways. I wouldn't need them to make a product I was proud with, kind of thing. I think one of my biggest problems is I have a lot of stuff in my brain, and I can't even. There's so much that I can't decide on one thing to commit to. Um, I have multiple ideas for momentum-based 3D platformers that I think would be really interesting and really fun to make. Um, I have like a Souls-like idea. I have an exploration type game idea. I have experience type game ideas. And it's hard to commit to any one thing. And I've been wanting to make a car platformer for so long because, obviously I love Car Quest. So then making a car platformer is just an idea that has always been in my mind ever since the idea of game design crossed paths with my love of Car Quest. Um, but I don't think I can make anything that I am proud of without first being good at level design, which I'm just not right now. So I don't know. The curse of being a creative, you know what I mean? Nice. Owie. Okay, that's fine. I think my mind isn't visual. Um, what word am I trying to use? I guess tactile would be a better way to describe how my mind visualizes things. Where like I can envision a movement system in a game, right? And then I can make that movement system by understanding its mechanics, right? And how it would feel to use that movement system. But then I can visualize a 3D model in my mind. But it more comes down to how I would feel looking at different parts of that model. And then actually executing on that feeling is extremely difficult to me. Has to be stylized. Yeah, I see what you mean. But even when it's just something like that tactile thing that I'm talking about, it works with 2D movement as well. Um, like I can visualize what I want a 2D movement system to be like, but then every time I try to execute on it, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. I don't think I understand the mechanics of two-dimensional movement as well as I do three-dimensional movement. If for no other reason than the fact that I'm just so much more used to three-dimensional movement because I've been playing three-dimensional games my entire life, and I've played very, very few 2D games in comparison. Color theory. Okay. um, I think that comes down to, or it's the same thing as like music theory, right? Where there are things that generally sound or look good, um, but a lot of the people who like specialize in that kind of thing are they are of the mind that it's the only way to make something look or sound good, and that's just obviously objectively not true. So while color theory can be extremely useful, especially when you're first starting to get into an art form, or if you're struggling with something like you know, music theory helped me a lot with writer's block when it came to composing pieces and stuff, um, especially when I first started doing things. But largely, um, it's it's more it's more a tool than a rule. Yeah, and silly random colors everywhere can look amazing. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I think just in my mind, visualizing and understanding 3D movement is a lot easier for me. Because, like, I grew up playing games like, Ocarina of Time doesn't have much movement, but it does still have, like, a lot of tactile um, feeling to it, if that makes sense. Um, or, like, Mario 64, I grew up playing that as well. Super Mario Sunshine, a lot of Mario games, actually, a lot of 3D Mario games. And then 3D Sonic games. I would spend forever just playing random 3D Sonic fan games that I found as a kid. That kind of thing. So for me, that's just easier. Uh, that's not. You don't need to know rules to make art, though, right? Because art isn't beholden to rules. I know incredible artists, like personally, who don't go by any rules at all, right? Luddy in my Discord server is a great example of that. He's been making music for, like, I want to say 4 or 5 years at this point, something like that. And he never studied music theory or anything. And his music is great. It's super interesting. It's super fun. He just kind of listened to artists that he liked and went from there. And I don't know. I think his music is really nice. Yeah, that too. Just, I don't know, do what you like. Yeah, music theory is for elites too, I think, is a good way to put it. It's for people who want to feel like they're good at something or understand something to a degree that most people don't, even if they don't necessarily understand it. And like the creative process is different for different people. So like I started with music theory and ended up with stuff that I like a lot. But then there are people who didn't learn music theory at all and make stuff that they really like. So, it just comes down to the person. Art is a weird subject to me. And as much as I've like opened up my definition of art and understood things that I never would have considered art, years ago, as much as I do understand them as art now, it's still like, while my videos are like objectively art, what I am doing, what? Oh, I dropped on accident. What I'm doing now is like art, right? It still doesn't feel like I'm creating art when I'm doing this, even though I am, which is weird, I think. You definitely can 100% do your own thing, and a lot of art is a lot better for it. Lottie is a good example of that, actually. Did I drop it again? I swear I was on use. What? Yeah, music theory to learn about things is really interesting. That's kind of why I started with it, to be honest. It wasn't even to help me make music. There we go. Okay, I'm going to buy one more Titanite shard just so I don't have to worry about killing the guy. Do that. And then purchase a very, very heavy sword, as usual. Oh wait. Okay. That's not what I meant to do, but I guess I need to dupe these two. I don't need to. Probably would have been faster to not do that. Oh well. Actually, I'm gonna need more than that. Or, I don't know. It's fine. Everything's fine. I know what I'm doing. I can just do more later if I need to. It's just not a big deal. Okay. Should be able to beat Orange and Smo pretty handily with this. I think, Afna, the thing is, it can be good to try and get that grasp, but it's not necessary by any means. It's 12, isn't it? 12, 15. Yeah. I think that's requirements. I'm just gonna go 20. I'll just go 20 for now so it doesn't feel like I'm cheating in a bunch of souls. But yeah, it can be good to use music theory. Like, again, it comes down to the person. For me, learning music theory was extremely helpful for making what I wanted to make. But for some people, if anything, it can be detrimental if they feel like they should stick to the rules that they learned rather than just being creative, which might work better for them, right? So saying it is good doesn't make sense, but saying it can be good, it can be helpful, is very true. Yeah, I know, about any sort of rules of art as a whole. Music theory, color theory. Please don't kill me. Cool. Pardon me. I also loved music theory for a lot of reasons other than just learning the theory itself, right? A music theory class was incredibly influential in just giving me a chance to write music. The people that I was with during that time were really great. My teacher was extremely helpful in just fostering creativity and the love of music. So, you know, like, even just aside from learning the theory itself, that class was great. Yeah, art tutorials in general are great. But you don't need to use trends at all. Trends are entirely optional as well. There's nothing about any art that you need to know to make that kind of art. To be honest, when I'm making music, my favorite thing to do, rather, when I want to make music, is just to open up my music making program and just find an instrument I think sounds cool and then press buttons until I make like a melody or a chord progression or something that sounds good. I don't even go into it with like a specific thing I'm trying to make. Sometimes I do, and sometimes that works really well. But a lot of the time I just, oh, this sounds cool. I'm going to do something with this. And then I do that, and it works. And it comes out to something that I somewhat enjoy. Art is not communication. Art is expression. It can be communication. It is not necessarily communication. That limits what art is to a much, much higher degree than it needs to be limited to. It can be both. It's not, art is not anything. It can be a lot of things, but it is not anything specifically. I'm going to go this way because it's easier. Pardon me. And like there have been times where, like there was actually a time where I really wanted to make a platformer where you where you play as a lemon, believe it or not, because that's apparently my entire personality, and you like go through a few different environments, and like for each of those environments, I went into my music making program, with like, okay, so I want the vibe of this environment, and I think it worked really well at the time, but every time I've tried to do that since, it hasn't worked. So like one of the environments, right, was a store. And when I made that song, when I listened to it back, even today, it just sounds like what a store would sound like in the context of a platformer where you play as a a lemon, right? um, and that ended up being really fun, um, and a really great way to do it for that project. But ever since, it's been like not really viable to make music that way for me. I disagree. I don't think art needs an audience at all. Anything that is created can become art. I talked about this in my, what was it? I think it was What Makes a Game Special. That's one of my favorite essays I've ever done, where it doesn't even necessarily need to be created as art, but like, okay, for instance, there's that urinal that got displayed at an art museum, or even like the banana taped to a wall, right? Where it's like, a lot of people don't consider that art, but that doesn't make it not art. It just is art, right? Because it was intended as art. While something like a brutalist building isn't necessarily created to be art, but the experience is centered around those structures, as well as like the people who use those structures. They have stories based on those structures, and that kind of turns them into a piece of art. Even like on top of the fact that a brutalist cityscape can be beautiful. I love looking at brutalist cityscapes. I think it's incredibly visually interesting and just nice to look at. So like creation, I think creation is art, right? So like nature is beautiful, but I don't think there's any reason to label it as art, while something like, again, a brutalist building isn't created as art, but it can be viewed that way. It can be experiences, but it doesn't have to be. Like with the banana, it's exactly the opposite of the experiences. It's not the experiences that people have with it that make it art. It's the fact that it was created to be art that makes it art. So the idea of art being any one thing is kind of absurd, if that makes sense. Okay, I want you to fall over, please. Oh, I don't know if he's gonna fall there. Oh, cool. Yeah, destruction can be art too. That's a good point. It also, I don't know. Anything influence, then, I think is a better term than creation. Influence is art. Okay. So like when it comes to something like a sunset, right? That can be visually beautiful and can elicit emotions, and again, can be experienced art by the act of it being observed, right? So it being framed in a photograph or painted through the eyes of an artist, or even just being viewed by someone and thinking, hey, this is beautiful, and this is the experience that I have with this, like that makes it art. Oh, excuse me. But without a person being there, I don't think it can be considered art. I don't think that makes sense. Hello, Nick. Welcome. We're talking about art. Yeah, dexterity. Why not? I have 40,000 souls to mess with. Good enough. I mean, art can be social. It isn't necessarily though, right? You can look at a sunset and think it's beautiful and not share that with anyone. And you can take a picture of a sunset and no one will ever see it. And yet, it's still art, right? And like, again, because I am exerting my influence over the piece of media you are actively watching, art is being created in the moment. And I think that's fascinating. I would argue that anyone chatting could also be considered art. Whether or not all things that have influence should be considered art, well, not even necessarily should, but are implicitly considered art, or if they need that moniker applied to them to be considered art, is a different conversation. But, but again, anything that doesn't have influence exerted over it, it doesn't make sense to call it art. Again, it can be beautiful, and the experience that you frame viewing something beautiful around, like a sunset or a black hole or a supernova, right? Like that can make it art, but the thing on its own it does not make sense in my mind to just call it art. Since when do adults need permission to make art? What? I didn't need permission to make this video. Like, I guess YouTube arguably gave me permission, but um, I could be making videos without YouTube existing. People did that all the time before YouTube existed. A cucumber on stairs made of or out of blue paint. That's incredible. I don't know. I think there's something to be said about even things that I don't know. Recreating experiences, I think, is a really fun exercise in art as well. Um, like trying to elicit emotions that you had experienced before with a new piece of art, for instance. I think that's fascinating. Damn it. There we go. Okay. Hopefully Incidents mode don't take me too many tries. I feel like I should be more worried about the Hydra, to be honest. I don't know. Adults needing permission isn't even like a rule, though. most people who are like just creative just make art, right? Um, there are very, very, very few adults who I know who are implicitly creative who feel like they need a reason to make art or whatever, or are hesitant at all. Like a lot of people are, but I don't think stating that as like a rule is makes very much sense. If I'm being honest, bad art is some of the most fascinating art to me. And like the term bad art doesn't make sense for various reasons. But like one of my favorite examples, my favorite painting ever was Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue. I think it was 2 or 3. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's one of my favorite paintings ever because of how it exists as a commentary on art, but also because it got vandalized, and I think the vandalism like became a part of the art itself, which I think is fascinating and makes it, my favorite even more so. But then I was looking up the picture, and on Reddit, this Reddit post with like, that killed me instantly. That's so messed up. This Reddit post with like 2 upvotes, I think, came up in the Google search results. And it was a recreation using paint markers of Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue. And they took a razor and cut the paper in the same way that the vandal cut the original painting. And like the painting wasn't well done in that you could see the brushstrokes extremely clearly. The edges like weren't trimmed. It was just like in the middle of a piece of paper, you could see where they like colored in where the red goes around the edges of the painting and everything. And like that is one of my favorite pieces of art ever. Honestly, I think I like the recreation of the vandalism more than the original piece of art itself. So, and like, again, technically it wasn't well done, quote unquote. But if anything, I think that just adds more to it. I think that makes it an even better piece of art to me. So like not having technical skill, doesn't make art bad in any way, in my opinion. I just think art itself is fascinating. And there's a lot to be gained out of people who don't have technical skill or who don't have, any understanding of the culture around art, or, things like color theory or music theory. Those kinds of people making art, I don't know. There's a lot to be gained out of anyone making art, because everyone's experiences are different. All art is approached from different perspectives, and all people who view art have their own perspectives too, which makes art entirely unique to each individual. And I don't know. I know I'm being very, very pretentious, but I don't know. I would read chat, however, I am attempting to not die. Whether or not I will be successful remains to be seen, though. Well, everything's fine. Like, when it comes down to it, my videos do require a lot of technical skill in terms of, like, being good at the video game, obviously. But also, like, being good at editing and being good at voice acting and being good at writing. But, like, I don't know. I don't think I'm good at that stuff. It's just more, like, the uniqueness of my videos that I think makes them satisfying to create, and for a lot of people satisfying to watch, because, like, I'm the only person who has my voice. I'm the only person who expresses ideas in the exact way that I do, and that goes for everyone with all art, with everything, right? So anyone making art, regardless of their skill, regardless of their knowledge, I think is incredible. Art's great, is my point. I love art as a whole. Oh my god. Stop. Please. I'm begging you. Like, if you're at the point where you think that art needs to be technically impressive to be good art, then I think you just have a fundamental misunderstanding of art. I'm not saying that to anyone specific. That's just a general statement. Technical skill arguably can even make art worse because it removes a lot of personal expression that might come from a lack of that skill. And I personally find that personal expression via skill extremely interesting. Mo buzz slamming 4 times in a row is art. I agree. Even art that fails to meet the intention of the creator isn't bad art at all. Like, I don't know. I love Lost Izalith, for instance, but that very much did not meet the creator's intention of what it was supposed to be, right? And I still think that's incredible art. So, I don't know. I don't see that as bad art by any means. No, unfortunately, I'm not into men, so Smo. Smo is not someone who I would want to do that to me. Other people, yes, though. Yeah, and like, it's hard for certain people to appreciate certain kinds of art, and that's true of me too. There's a lot of... I've seen quite a few artists whose, in my opinion, their visual art, like paintings or whatever, right, are extremely visually noisy, and it's fascinating to look at, but I can't get any enjoyment out of it because it's just hard for me to look at because it just feels like noise, right? So I don't know. I need to fight the gargoyles to place the Lord Vessel. And Quelaag as well. I'm gonna go down and fight Quelaag first. I have the Lord Vessel though, so I can work back up out of Blighttown, which will be nice. Right, but then Smo would still be he, him. He, him, lesbian doesn't mean not he, him. Modesty is a plague. That's not true. Not liking immodest, I guess, is the best word for it. Not liking immodest art for personal reasons is entirely understandable, but as a rule, makes no sense to me. Art that would generally be considered immodest is always some of the best art I've ever seen, especially because it touches on so many parts of like the human experience, right? And that's, I totally understand that that's very, very pretentious to say, but The Minions movie is art. Yeah, there's a lot of influence there, and like there's something to be said about art as a cash grab, right? But I don't think that inherently makes it bad art. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time watching movies as well, unless my autism counteracts that. I've I binged the three Sonic movies with a partner a couple weeks ago and had a super great time, and I'm definitely gonna do it again as soon as I can watch Sonic 3 again with another partner. So hello, Reese. I'm glad you could make it. I hope you enjoy your time here. Adam, I have similar experiences. Not strictly the same, but there was a long time where I would just straight up avoid listening to music if it was popular. Um, there was there were a lot of instances where like I would enjoy the sound of a song but just not listen to it. Um, a great example of that, a song that I really really like and have been listening to a lot recently. But around when it came out and like, well, actually I don't remember when it came out, but around when I first heard it, rather, is a better way to put that. I despised it because I knew it was a popular song. And like, popular might be an over. What's my brain just refuses to find the word. An overstatement, Jesus. But Bagan by Mainskin, I think that's a great song. It sounds awesome. But I just didn't listen to it. Flighttown is absolutely art. Definitely. I don't know. I have less trouble with that now, but there are still instances where it's like I specifically have a harder time enjoying something if it is popular for whatever reason. But that's not a rule. Oh, right, that is a cover, isn't it? I kind of forgot that was a cover. Either way, the main skin version is the only one I ever heard. So. Oh my god. Quelaag exploding is also art, I guess. Oops. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I don't know that attention can be considered a finite resource in the same way that other things would. Like, it is absolutely a finite resource. But thinking of it that way, I think, can be ultimately harmful to your experience with art as well. I feel that way about my autism. It does make... Oh my goodness. Excuse me. It does make learning certain things much, much easier. That's going to kill me. It's not going to kill me. That was really close. It does make learning certain things much, much easier than it would be otherwise. Just because I've had vested interest in it because I'm hyperfixating or whatever. I should actually go in here and rest so they can just bone back up and then work. Yeah, the Crane Wives, folk music generally was a genre that it took me a very long time to start listening to, actually, for whatever reason. And I love folk music now. Like the Arcadian Wild is another really good folk band. The Amazing Devil. Yeah, true. Again, there's a conversation to be had about art being made for money as opposed to for like expression or whatever. But either way, I think it would still be considered art. And like how you experience that art is also influenced by that, right? What's wrong with Mumford and Sons? Admittedly, I if I hear a song and like it, I'll just like continue listening to that song, and I don't really do my due diligence when it comes to looking up artists and whatever. That's to a point. Like I don't listen to Cult of Dionysus anymore just because the stuff surrounding that makes it really hard to listen to. And that was one of my favorite songs for a long time. But like, I think Broken Crown is a great song. Of Monsters and Men is also really good. They give me the same vibe as Mumford and Sons. Patricia Taxon is great. I don't listen to their music, but their video essays are really, really good. I love their Marvel game video essay. That's one of my favorite video essays on YouTube. And then on the ethics of boinking animal people is also really great. Oh, I don't know how much I want to say because I don't want to just um, ruin the experience of that song for someone. But the people who wrote it weren't great. But the person who wrote it, I don't know. I should just punch. I know what I'm doing. I've played this game probably hundreds of times at this point. I don't know about that much, but it's pretty close. Okay. Oops. I remember learning how to code and then coding a Mario 64 ROM hack with MIPS assembly in, how long did that take me? Like 2 weeks or something? That was one of the most difficult times I've ever had coding, and it was really fun. Nope. Yeah, I think not being able to make art regardless of how many people enjoy it is one of the best things about art, and it's honestly why I made my second channel. Oh, I forgot to fight the gargoyles. Like, very few people are going to be watching my Sonic reviews on my second channel, or my Sonic lore deep dives, or my random playthroughs of games that I like that I want to share my thoughts about. But I still like making them, right? So, um, so the original ROM hack that I made for Mario 64, God, what was that called? I don't remember what I called it. It was for Simple Flips. I think it was a Zelda ROM hack. And what I did was I made it impossible for Mario to do specific moves unless he had a certain number of stars. So it was like each star you got was actually an item that let you do something. And it took a lot of like understanding assembly to be able to do that. But then I also made, what was it? Car Quest 64, but the only assembly I did there was modifying Mario's moveset so I could have the placements of items in ways that I wouldn't be able to with vanilla movement, or at least more accessible to people who aren't incredibly good at the vanilla movement. If you like Car Quest, Car Quest 64 is, if you like Car Quest and you like Mario 64, then Car Quest 64 is a trip. And I say that as somebody who, as the person who made it. Also, did I kill this crystal lizard earlier? Must not have. Okay. Yeah, finding third places is kind of hard. I don't know. I guess my Discord server is kind of a third place, but it's also kind of work. I don't know. Yeah, my Zelda ROM hack, I made that not before decomp happened, so I could have used C to write it. I just found assembly more appealing. Which, you know, it was fun. It was really, really fun to make. Owie. Yeah, in this economy, physical third places are hardly a thing, let alone a thing that are accessible to, especially neurodivergent folks. Ugh, owie. Anyway, yeah, R's cool. um, Making stuff is fun. Highly recommend it. Even if you feel like maybe you don't have the skill to achieve what you want necessarily. I think the outcome can be even more fascinating if you don't make exactly what you want, because your experience with that thing will be, different from what you expected, and I think that can be a very fascinating thing to experience. I don't know, I've tried listening to ASMR a couple times, and I've never really, been able to enjoy it on its own. But there are things that are ASMR-like that I enjoy. I don't know. Certain things I hate that I enjoy them. Like those Lego building ASMR videos. Because they're just... I don't know. They feel... all the ones that I've seen, personally, all the ones that have come across my feed I felt very clickbaity in a lot of ways. So I hate that I enjoy them, but they're just so satisfying to watch. There is a PC port of Glover, and with decomp, you could probably put Mario in Glover. That would be really interesting, I think. I don't know how feasible that would be for me to do personally. Ugh, I'm gonna have to do all the heads. Have a good night, Afna. Thank you for joining while you could. Hope you sleep well. I don't know. I know some people consider my videos ASMR even if they're not really intended for that. Listen to them to help them sleep or whatever. My controller disconnected that time. That's why I didn't attack one of the heads. Come back. Ugh. Do I have... Oh, excuse me. Jeez. Do I have any range attacks at all? No, I don't. Of course I don't. I'm not sure what the best way to go about this is. I could just go grab the bow, actually. I don't know. There are people's voices who I consider to be soothing. But that doesn't... I don't go out of my way specifically to listen to them unless they are a person that I know and care about, in real life, right? So, if a partner has a good voice, then I'll want to listen to them talk. But then, if I find some random YouTuber who has a nice voice, I won't go out of my way to watch them, even to relax me or whatever, because I just need information to relax me. Zelda ROM hacks? What Zelda ROM hacks? Oh, the Zelda ROM hack was a Mario ROM hack. That had Zelda theming. Not a Zelda ROM hack at all. I don't remember what I used to do the programming and stuff, though. Oh. What's the health at? Okay. There we go. I use Notepad++ occasionally. At this point, whenever I code, it's for something specific. So, if I'm doing something with, 3D Rad or whatever, just messing around, then I'll probably use Notepad++ because 3D Rad's inbuilt text editor is god-awful. But if I'm doing something on, a program that has an actually usable text editor, then I'll just use whatever the default is. And if I'm just taking notes, Notepad or Obsidian is just vastly better for Notepad++ for that specifically. So, I don't know. Yeah, I've been told that I should make ASMR, but I don't know that I would be able to. I love that you can roll into that to avoid it. I don't hate Visual Studio. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I am shocked I dodged that. There we go. Okay. Now we can go fight the gargoyles, place the Lord Vessel, and go get the pendant. Finally. I think Visual Studio is nice because it automatically formats for you, stuff for you, but it also is just really, I don't know, it's bloated, I guess, is the main problem with it. I don't hate it though. It's usable. I don't know. I like or I used it for C# with Unity, obviously, and then I used it for like JavaScript and stuff, and it did the job, and it worked well enough. Very convenient to use as well. Okay, can probably first try the gargoyles with a +10 claymore. I want to learn Godot, but there are so many features, like from Unity. I tried to make like a basic rigid body 3D platforming thing, which is incredibly easy in Unity. And I was even able to do it with 3D Rad. And if you know anything about 3D Rad, you know that that's not a good idea. And I did it. And it was a really fun way to learn AngelScript and to learn how to use that engine. But when I tried to do that with Godot, it just did not work. So I don't know. Godot is hard to use specifically the way I wanted to use it. Use MS Paint. I do remember boxylating. That's up on my itch still, I think. And every now and then I'll open up itch and like I'll have a notification or whatever. And then I'll go to my dashboard. And I'll like remember the games that I made. And it's like, oh yeah, boxylating. I think one of the best things about creativity is how differently it manifests with different people. Like obviously, creating videos is my preferred creativity of choice, right? Especially videos about games. But making games is also something I want to do. But then some people just aren't interested in video games whatsoever. Then there are like more traditional mediums like painting or whatever, or even writing. It's just, yeah, art's fascinating. Oop, pardon me. This isn't the direction you need to go. You can always make a game that's mostly coding, right? Like again, you gotta play to your strengths. If you're not good at modeling, use basic shapes and convey everything through the movement or whatever, right? I think it's very possible to make a good game without using every single pillar of game design. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. In Orlando. And we can get the pendant and go to the DLC and then fight a boss and then finally get the weapon. That was the entire point of this stream. Yeah, I think games made primarily using programmer art are they do definitely have a charm. Um, Car Quest, I don't think it is that, but it does have that same kind of vibe in a lot of ways. And like Jamie is a great artist, and I don't mean to say this to like detract from Jamie's art at all. Who, if you don't know, is one of the people on eZone who does like the majority of the art. I think it was Jamie. Simon does the code and stuff, and Jamie does the art and stuff, I think. Anyway, my point is, that's not to detract from what Jamie did. I think if it was intentionally done like that, that's fascinating. But even if it wasn't, I still love the art in that game. And it does very much have that unique charm to it. I despise Python. Not for any specific reason. It just feels so weird to use. I just do not like using the syntax. I don't know. Hey, Styra, you have nothing to apologize for. You're not obligated to be here by any means. Maybe after the stream today, I'll try and do something with game design or something. I don't know. That sounds fun. I think one of the hardest things with game design is that it takes so long to make a game. And with ADHD, right, I can make a video in a week, right, or less. I can make a video in a couple days. My tornado video I made in like a day and a half or something. And like with that kind of thing, I can see results very quickly. But when it comes to game design, it's just so much. And keeping myself motivated for the entire development cycle of a game is insanely difficult. Oh, wait. Okay, everything's fine. I think you can make art of any kinds without any specific skill. I mean, obviously, because art doesn't have any like requirements or whatever, but I think you can make engaging art of any variety without any specific skill. Okay, DLC time, yippee! Game design is the Dark Souls of programming. Game design is the Dark Souls of art. I don't know. I think something like movie making is actually, well, I don't know. It really depends, because like if you want to make, you know, a comprehensive fantasy film, you're going to need a lot more resources than somebody who wants to make a comprehensive fantasy game. Where like it takes, I don't know, it takes more time to make the game, but it definitely takes fewer people, you know? And it can take more to make different results and whatever, but largely making a movie that has like a bunch of characters and everything takes either an absurd amount of skill that nobody has, and like live action, obviously, animation is a different thing, but even then, it's really, really difficult for one person to make an animated work. So, I don't know. No, not level design, just making a game as a whole. So like coming up with how the game works and understanding how the coding will interact with the music, will interact with the art design, which will interact with the level design. Like when I say game design, I mean literally everything that goes into making a game. Though not necessarily any specific thing, I guess. Yeah, game design is something that I've studied my whole life, I guess, and it's something that I've always been fascinated by, but I've never been able to really wrap my head around it in a way that I find satisfying. Honestly, I find indie projects so much more fascinating than group projects, like, or even like one individual, right? Like one or two people. Titan Souls and Death's Door is like one of my favorite duologies of all time of games, and it's like it was made almost entirely by two people, um, not exclusively. They had help and whatever, and the credits are a lot more than just two people. But they were like the main people doing basically the whole thing, and like David Fenn's music is it adds so much to the game, um, and then just I don't know, it's so great. Atlas is primarily being worked on by one person, and that's an incredible game. Core 64 is a game that I put, I think, 30 hours into. It's like $4 on Steam. Highly, highly recommend it. It's a great little platformer. First person, like parkour platformer. It's super fun. But it was made by one person, and I find that so interesting. I don't know. I think individual projects, for me, are more engaging because it's fascinating to see an entire project come from one mind and understand like how that project came to fruition from that mind and everything. Ow. Wow, I actually get an entire boss fight with my favorite boss instead of a couple attacks. That's awesome. That never happens. I mean, still probably gonna beat it pretty quickly because it has no health, but Team Cherry forgot the password. Unfortunate. No. Honestly, I was kind of hesitant to do this stream today. I was kind of debating between doing this and the claws. I didn't really want to do the claws though. um, and I knew a lot of people wanted to see this, but I was also hesitant because I thought it would be kind of difficult to get the weapon. But well, I guess it wasn't that bad. Of that, and I think that's a really interesting like um reaction of all those. You know what I mean? I think that was a really fun thing to realize. What? Why? Am I just not going to be able to connect again? I mean, that's not a big deal. I'm fine with playing offline, but weird. Oh, the stream disconnected for a second? Huh. Oh, I guess I don't know. I guess my computer just disconnected from the internet for a second. All right, Deuterium, thank you for being here while you could. I hope you enjoy doing whatever it is you gotta go do. All right, I never kill the gardener things, the scarecrows. So. Did we get the weapon first try? Probably. Okay, are we back? Hopefully. I didn't even disconnect that time. Oh, I forgot about the guardians. That's why I never kill these things. Audio is bad.